Hi learners, welcome. We are continuing on our go-to-market journey. I spoke to you about the 4 P's of marketing, and in that we have already covered the product P, which led to branding and differentiation. We also spoke about the price P, which is very important, and I showed you or spoke to you about multiple approaches to pricing, whether it was based on cost, whether it was based on competition, or whether it was based on perceived value by the customer. Today's lesson is on promotion. Promotion is to promote your product. That's where the word comes from, which is promote your product. And promoting your product in a B2C, which is business to individual customers, happens through advertising. So, the original person who coined the 4 P's, which is Philip Kotler, could have called it 2 P's, 1A, which is advertising, and 1S, which is sales, but I am sure that would not have had the same ring as having 4 P's of marketing. So, the promote P is about promoting the product. We do it through a combination of storytelling, advertising, communication. Some of these are the words associated with the promotion P. So, let us go through what all is included in the promotion P, and here what is a given is by now you have, as an entrepreneur, or you have as a brand person, a marketing person, a CEO, a CMO, whatever the role you are playing, you have already designed your product for your customer segment. Those have been frozen. So, the customer segment is known and the product has been created for that customer segment. The promotion P does 2 things. It does messaging and it does media. What does messaging mean? Messaging means what will you say, what will you communicate, what is your messaging. So, what is it that you want to say to your customers about your products so that they will buy? That is what the messaging part of promotion is. And the second part is media, which is literally where will you say this. So, what will you say and where will you say. So, media is where will you showcase your message, in what form will you showcase your message, will it be a static ad, will it be video, etc., etc. And as we live in the social media world, the number of opportunities to speak to customers increase day by day. Yeah? So, the promotion P comprises of 2 things, which is what is your messaging, what is it that you wish to say about your product so that customers will buy you, and where will you say it, where will you showcase your message. Those are the 2 things that go together into making the promotion P. This is how we promote our products. So, in messaging, the most important thing is just getting the communication right. There is a huge gap between what we think we are communicating and what others are receiving from us. The best way of understanding this or experiencing this is called Chinese whispers. It is a game that all of us have played as small children. We sit in a circle, I say something to you, you say something to the person next to you, and it goes around in a circle and finally comes back to the person who originated the message. Of course, children being children exaggerate it so that they heard something different and then they will say something different, but that is what communication is really about. It is about people listening and choosing to listen to what they want to listen to. Communication is a 2-way game, never a 1-way street. So, it is not that I stand on the mountain top and I say I am the best, does not work at all. So, communication has to be understood and created for in the context of the receiver, and the receiver for us is the customer segment that we had defined. And even within that customer segment, do you remember we had focused so much about a customer persona. The persona is understanding that one person who in a sense to us represents that segment in as much detail as possible. Not just knowing them demographically, which is their income and their education and their family size and age and so on, but understanding them psychographically. What is their lifestyle, what is their needs, what are their triggers, what are their motivations, what kind of things are they ultra sensitive about, so we should not use that in our communication. All of that goes into getting communication right, which is understanding the target audiences. Communication does well if it has these three elements which are here. The first element is called attention. Yeah? Attention is very easy to explain. If the ad doesn't even catch your attention, you will skip it. Yeah? In today's world of skipping, we are just, and we are tuned to looking at our screens and saying, oh, this is a 5-second skip or this is a 30-second skip. Based on that, we are not even looking at the screen, we are doing something else. We all live in multi-window minds at any point of time, and maybe that's not the best as far as a human being is concerned. But as far, and I'm not here talking to you about psychology and human beings, but I'm talking to you about marketing, which also uses consumer psychology, which is how do you get your message across for somebody whose attention span is maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 or 30 seconds. So, attention is the first thing about getting your communication right. The second is called branding, and very often you will remember the communication, you will remember the ad, but you won't remember what was the product that was an ad for, what was the brand that was an ad for, and worse, you won't know what they were trying to say to you so that you will buy that product. So, it may have had great attention, may have wonderful attention, caught your attention, but did nothing as far as telling you what the product is or what is the brand name of that product, so that when you want to buy something in that space, you remember this. Yeah? So, brands have to do, or advertising has to do attention, advertising has to do branding, and advertising has to do communication, which means the message I want to deliver to you is the message that you are receiving. So, if you can make out the first alphabet in attention, branding and communication has been called out in a separate color, and that's because they make the ABC of advertising, they make the ABC of attention, of advertising, messaging, communication. So, the A is for getting attention, the B is for getting branding, and C is for getting communication right. Yeah? And when I used to be a marketing head for a few brands in the portfolio, we used to make commercials, television ads, which were 30 seconds. There was too short a time to tell a message, but ads are 30 seconds because we can't afford longer format ads. And in today's attention world, people are making 10-second reels, people are making 15-second stories, but that's what the world has become. So, and people get attention. So, virality, the first thing about virality is getting attention. It is so viral that it catches your attention. But does it do the job of telling you what the product is? And does it tell you why you should buy that product, which is communication? So, to get your communication right, you have to get attention, branding and communication. Similarly, sorry, I should have said this earlier itself. Communication has two key dimensions. It has to be clear. It has to be clear in what is it saying to you, but equally it has to be evocative, which means inspiring, which means motivating. If I state a simple sentence in a flat tone to you to try to be clear, I might be clear, but you won't remember it 30 seconds later, because there was nothing inspiring about that. There was nothing motivating or evocative about that. So, all communication has to go through this filter of being clear and being evocative. And in the context of advertising, the three ABC are attention, branding, communication. The other part of promotion is media, which is how do you get the message to your audience. We have defined the audience, please remember. We are not starting new at this point of time. Again, to go back to my days of advertising and marketing, quite some time back now, but I mean principles don't change at all, but the media has changed dramatically. So, we used to use print ads. The second icon on the top row, you may not even understand what it is, but this is how terrestrial communication, television used to be. So, there is television, there is radio, there is some blog, there is magazines, there is newspapers, there is bus shelters we used to use, there were hoardings, we used to use SMS. Beyond SMS, there wasn't much else that was available. That two people in that one icon are about word of mouth. I bought something, I loved it, and I will tell maybe 3, 4, 5 people about it. If I loved it a lot, I might tell 30 people about it. But that's called word of mouth. So these were the multiple, in fact, this is a subset of what we used to have. That old telephone, some of you might not even recognize the icon which is on the 4th row, 3rd column, which is an old fashioned landline telephone, and we used to have telecallers call people at home for their advertising message. So all of this went into what kind of media we will use to get our message to the right audiences. Today's world is just this. There is a phone. All of us carry phones in our hands all the time. We're constantly looking at our phones, and our phones are beaming us all the advertising messages. And therefore, today's media planners or today's marketers looking at media focus almost all of their energies in getting their media plan for the mobile phone, right? Because we are consuming entertainment, content, learning, communication, everything through this one device called the mobile phone. And here the objective is to reach the maximum number of people at the minimum cost. And as far as media, which is getting the message to your audiences, is concerned, there is only one mantra, which is focused targeting at the least cost, which means that if you only want to target women for a beauty brand, then getting men in your media reach, paying to get men would be considered a wastage for that segment, for that product. So the objective of media is getting bang for your buck, which means focused targeting, lessened wastage. Zero wastage is almost impossible at the least possible cost. Yeah. So now let's go and look at who are the agencies or partnerships, and towards the end of this session, I will also tell you some of the tools that are available, because it is such a complex with many interlocking parts that we need multiple agencies to help us on this journey. And there are agencies which are, let's start with branding or creative agencies. To me, these are the both the thinkers as well as the creators. So they ask and answer, not just ask, they ask and they answer fundamental questions like who's your target audience, why should they buy this product, how is this product superior to others, what is it that insight, and we'll talk about insight a slide from now on the next slide, what is it that will move the needle from being a non-user of a category into becoming a user of the category. So branding is like strategy in that sense of the word, and the creative agency was able to take that thought and express it in a very creative way. So those are branding or creative agencies. We also have design and packaging agencies. They are what in perhaps in today's world are called graphic design agencies, where they take a thought and they design either a logo, a trademark, a mnemonic, a jingle perhaps, or packaging for your product. All of us know that sometimes the packaging is so attractive for a product that we don't even feel like putting that packaging away. It's like, I would never throw away my MacBook box or even the Apple packaging, the iPhone packaging that my phone comes in, because it's just so beautiful design. So there are design and there are packaging agencies, and there are PR or reputation agencies very needed in the context of today's world, where any consumer who got unhappy about a small thing or a big thing can go on to social media and tell the entire world about your brand or your company. So we need to manage that, and that's called reputation management. And it doesn't mean that we silence people. It's about managing, understanding what we did wrong, correcting for it, issuing a public statement, and making sure that it doesn't happen again. So that's PR and reputation management. There are media agencies which help brands and clients understand what kind of media channels should you advertise your message in. There are social media agencies which specialize on social media posts and reels and stories. which help people see it in the context of their everyday engagement with the world. There are channels. Channels are easy to explain. In today's world, you see a lot of your communication on OTT channels where you consume your media. We all see it on websites that we are browsing on. We also see it on television channels and newspapers, and when you are driving around or you're walking on the streets, you're also seeing the channels which are outdoor, bus shelter, a static medium, at a railway station, at a stadium, and things like that. So these are the agencies and partnerships. I have divided them as per messaging and as per media, which are the two roles of promotion as we've been talking about. Today's world, the word digital agency, and digital agencies can be all of these. There might be one agency that says, hey, give me your account or give me your business and I will do all of this for you. You don't need to go to multiple places and have to coordinate between this person and that person and so on. I'm your digital marketing agency and I will do your messaging, I will do your media, I'll do your social media, and I will also take care of your PR and reputation, because a large part of what we are seeing is on digital media these days, and we are all learning how to say it in a digitally savvy way. So the buzzword is digital marketing, the other buzzword is in-house. We all can do many of these things in-house if we have the right kind of design people, the right kind of design thinking people, the right kind of marketing thinking people. But even if you don't think of these as agencies or partnerships, think of these as the roles that need to be played by whoever is playing that role in the creation of the advertising and the placement of the advertising. First thing that clients do is choose the right target segment, choose the right persona, who is the pinpoint audience as far as you are concerned. Typically, a client will brief an agency about their core audiences. This is my core audience. If I close my eyes and think about the Lakme customer, a person comes to mind. And that's the same person that we have to communicate in written, in visual, in oral narrative form to our agencies, so that we are all imagining that we are targeting, we are all imagining that this is the person we are beaming our communication to. There is a user TG and there is a communication TG, and the difference between the two is the user TG is usually much wider than the person we create for, and the reason for that is aspiration. All of us aspire to be like somebody else, aspire to be like somebody, and therefore the user base is often much wider than the communication target person that a brand has in their mind. In today's world, without influencers, there is no branding, there is no marketing. Influencers have to be chosen for the right fit with your brand, and it is possible to do that. They don't have to be the most famous people, but they are truly believers in fitness or natural beauty or whatever it is that your brand wants to communicate with its audience. So finding an influencer is important, but not for the size of their following, but for the right fit with your brand. In one of the earlier sessions, we had spoken about brand language, brand associations, and these come in very handy here. Again, we don't want to select celebrities or select influencers simply because they have a large following. We need to do that in the context of our target segment. So this is what a client typically briefs their agency, and advertising or communication is created with this in mind, as well as media channels are found for these communication audiences. What we are seeking to do through advertising or communication is actually behavior change. Yeah? Many of you would have experienced this. We never would eat a certain kind of food, but either word of mouth, some friend of ours told us, or sometimes we saw a piece of advertising or we saw something as we were walking on the street and we felt like eating that or drinking that item, and that was a behavior change. We may have been satisfied with it and therefore it continued as behavior change, but that's the objective of all communication, which is the change in behavior. So this is called the ad map, which describes what does advertising do and how is it that advertising does what it does. So, this is the current state of the customer that we are targeting. The customer's current behavior is not eating pizza, for example. That is the behavior change we want, not eating pizza. This is their current behavior, and the first thing we try and understand is the thinking behind that behavior. Why is it that that customer does not want to eat pizza? So, what is the behavior? Not eating pizza. And what is the belief that is driving that behavior? Perhaps the belief is it is foreign food, foreign as in very different from my kind of food. It will not suit me. I may find that it does not agree with my digestive system. I may have a completely different point of view saying that everybody eats pizza, so I don't want to be the person who eats pizza, etc., etc. I am going to stay with the person who is not eating pizza because they believe that it is very different from their current food and it might not agree with them. So, that is the thinking that drives their current behavior. Okay? So, that is the first two parts of the ad map. What is the customer thinking today, doing today, what is their behavior, not eating pizza, and why are they doing that behavior? Because they think that the pizza is very foreign food, alien food, it might not suit their digestive system. Yeah? So, then we try and find the insight. So, it may not suit my kind of digestive system because my digestive system has been exposed only to desi food till now. For example, that is the thinking or the insight that so here in this communication, for example, and I am just creating this on the spot, I did not even come prepared with this example, but here for example, if that is the barrier is I am not used to eating foreign kind of food, then for example, the communication can talk about how the pizza is actually just made of atta or maida, which is what we are used to eating any which ways in our own diets. So, we are trying to rid this barrier that they think it is very different kind of food. So, I would create an ad for pizza, says made from the goodness of wheat. What does it have? A pizza has wheat and a pizza has cheese. And it says made with the goodness of wheat and milk, both of which are products that the average Indian consumer has been used to ever since they were born. So, that is the insight that I would use to change their thinking. The belief we want to instill. So, I would like them to believe that, oh, it is not very different from Indian food. It has the same wheat, gehu, and it has the same milk. So, it is not very different from what I have had before. That is the belief that we want to change, and then what will they do? Then their behavior will change and they will also start eating pizza. So, very simple basic example, which is to say what is the current behavior of the customer? Why do they believe in this way? How can we change their belief? And if we change their belief, what will they do differently? So, that is the ad map. The most important part here was the word insight. The word insight is often something which it is insight, dikh raha hai, but actually nahi dikh raha hai. So, insights are very uncommon. It is the same thing which is prevalent, but only some people can see it or some people can understand it. So, when I dig deeper and ask about why do you not eat pizza, the first answer I am likely to get is because I do not like it. And then you dig deeper and you realize that people say they do not like it without even ever trying it. And then you say, okay, why have you not tried it? Then you get these answers about how it is very different from the kind of food that I am eating. So, as you keep asking the why questions, you get an answer to insight, and that is what drives behavior. So, that is what advertising does. This is a simple ad map which goes from current behavior, current thinking, desired behavior, all connected with this one thing called the insight. I hope you do remember this pizza example, because all it tells you is how do I change the thinking. It obviously will not change in one time by telling you this. Obviously, if you see it a few times and you say, okay, they are saying it like this, and here is an influencer I know who is saying this also, maybe I should try it. and if they try it, they might change their behavior. Yeah. So here are some pieces of communication that I am going to come to. So the agencies translate, the media agencies translate target audiences into socio-economic proxies. It's possible on digital marketing to know what kind of phones people have, and there is a laddering of phones, the iPhone and some Samsung phones and some Google Pixels and some many other brands are not important, but there is a premium segment, there is a middle segment, and there is a discount segment, let's say, of phones. So these are proxies. They decide based on the target audience that you are giving them how to convert them to digital audiences. And I've used Facebook here as a reference because I'll talk further about a couple of Facebook examples, but the same applies to Google and Amazon and everybody who's currently a digital channel of marketing. These are some advertising campaigns. The topmost one is Cred. That ad is referred to as Indranagar Ka Gunda, which is in this case Rahul Dravid in that advertising. The middle one is for Cadbury Dairy Milk, one of my most favorite ads. The original ad beamed in the late 80s, where a cricketer, a batsman, was at the crease and he hits what could be a six or could get out, and there is his girlfriend sitting in the stadium, and you can see all kinds of emotions go on her face, and when it becomes a six and it's not a catch, she runs onto the stadium and hugs him. This was late 80s. And in recent time, in the last 10 years, Cadbury's has come up with the same ad, just the roles have been reversed. The girls are playing cricket and the boyfriend is watching, sitting in the stadium. And this is such a wonderful piece of communication, not because it refers to the past, but because it shows what is happening in the world today. So it is very rooted in today's culture. It's called rooted in pop culture of today, and it resonates with all of us today who are watching women's cricket teams. They had a World Cup. Every year now we are having a Women's Premier League. And so this has come to stay, and marketing leverages it, and marketing also promotes it. Yeah. The third one is a phone ad. I'll leave you to think about it. There are print ads. I've just borrowed from the Times of India, a 2-page ad for a phone brand which is called Nothing. Here are some ads which are beamed to me on my phone. So the leftmost one is Google. Google I thought was the channel itself, but here is Google Gemini beaming an ad to me when I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, the Grow ad was, I don't know if it was on Insta or wherever it was. Just see, actually no, the Grow ad probably was when I was playing a game. That thing called Madras Saris is saying pre-booking. If you can see, all of them have a call to action. The Gemini one says sign up, the Grow one says get, the Madras Saris is saying pre-booking. Due to high demand, we are taking pre-booking. That's what they are saying. The fourth piece is actually a search ad. I put in some word called how to invest in mutual funds. And I thought, some mutual fund will tell me. But no, the people who are telling me are Harvard Business School. Yeah, and also of course Grow is telling me install now and learn, but Harvard Business School is an ad, and some Udemy, which is a digital course, are all beaming at me how to invest in mutual funds. I'm sure there is nothing new about this for all of you are consumers of each of these, but these are the ads that you will be creating as entrepreneurs or as marketing professionals. How do we make these creatives work better? And so the first thing, capture attention quickly, especially in that skip ad generation. Engage with text and with voiceover, whether it's a written thing which is text or voiceover which is a storytelling in the visual medium. Incorporate branding early. Do not make people see the whole story and then put in your brand. People will remember the story but will not remember the product or the brand that is. Weave your brand or product very early into your story. Put your hero front and center. The Dairy Milk ad, for example, the person who was sitting in the stadium, whether it was the girl in the old ad or the guy in the current ad, was chomping away at a Cadbury Dairy Milk, and you can see that that happened in the first 2 or 3 seconds of the television commercial. Tell your story visually. The visual medium is very, very powerful. You use text and graphics to be in sync with each other, but not exactly say the same thing. So the consumer will be able to decode some things coming together. Think of it as a storytelling medium, like we watch movies. They are no different from that. Yeah? In media, these are some of the words that we use for getting money for your bang for your buck, getting returns for the money you are putting in. So the most common media terminology is the two at the bottom, which is called reach and frequency. Reach simply means how many customers am I reaching. It's a very simple term. How many customers are I reaching? And of course, it's easy to explain, but it costs money to get to more and more people. And frequency is an important term because people don't change their behavior by seeing a piece of communication once. Even if it is something as simple as a discount on a garment or on a shoe that you are already interested in, seeing that ad once may not move you, may not change your behavior, and that is what is called frequency. How many times do I have to see a piece of communication before I will act on it? So simple kind of communication, probably 2 to 3 times. Complex communication, new category, something that I have not currently engaged in, maybe 7, 8 times before consumers change their behavior. The other terms that are used here is dominance. So a full page ad is dominance. What you saw of nothing in the couple of slides back, they had first and second pages of the Times of India. That is dominance. That is also impact. Impact can come without dominance. For example, there is something called solace. If I am the only piece of communication present, I can get it with smaller size and get a similar kind of impact. I come from the consumer industry, which believes in continuity, which believes that we should be beaming advertising when your toothpaste is over or when your atta at home is over. So it's most important to be in the thought at continuously. So that's the 5 or 6 terms that I'm telling you about media. I've used a word here called virality. Very difficult to plan for virality. Most often it happens. So the story of Dhurandhar, the most, not the most recent movie, but one of the recent movies, is that they thought a particular part of the dance would go viral, but something else went viral. So virality very rarely can be planned for. What you can do is capitalize, bank, or leverage the virality that is already beginning to happen. Yeah? Some tools that I am leaving you with at the end of this lesson, and like I said, there is we'll need to create advertising and we will need to deliver advertising. So here are some tools for creating the ads and for testing the ads. So for creating, we create static ads, which are display, which are like the for example, the one I showed you from the Times of India, or even the ones that I showed you. There are ads which are not video, but they are just static and they beam at me on website as banners and so on. Carousel is a specific format which is used in digital marketing, where if you have multiple products, you don't just show one, you show multiple, one after the other, and that makes people more interested. That's called a carousel. There is video, and in video I'm very sure that all of you know there is short form, 5 second, 10 second, 15 second. There is the original 30-second commercial, and now of course we are also going into the 2.5 minute, which is the long format, because it is possible to beam all of this differently on your mobile phone when you are consuming very different types of content or entertainment. There is content which is blogs or your website. Even these need to be created, and all of these have to be in the same brand language as each other. They can't be speaking in different brand languages. As far as testing is concerned, the first type of testing is called A/B testing, which is you create 2 different 10-second ads, you run them and you see which of them got a higher click-through rate, and therefore you know that ad A or ad B had a higher click-through rate. Other than A/B testing, we've been through the marketing funnel, the customer funnel, and you can have different tools that tell you at which part of the funnel are customers dropping off. And in today's world, you can get all kinds of analytics, whether it is for website, what is the flow through on your website or on your mobile app, or for any event which is a piece of communication that you aired. So, we are bombarded with analytics. The point I would like to leave behind with you is to test not endlessly, but to test meaningfully, and don't let machines decide what human beings should be deciding. So, ask the right questions, which is what our talent is. Is it grabbing attention? Is it well branded? Is it communicating what it is meant to do? Are we able to see this piece of communication convert behavior? Is it converting for A type of people but not for B type of people? Then we need to understand the differences between these. So, the thought I am going to leave you with is, while there is every form of analytics today in digital marketing, you need to bring in the human touch. You need to bring in the human insight, you need to bring in the human thought processes, so that you are asking the right questions and data is not taking the decisions. Human beings are taking the decisions which data, so human beings are using the data to take decisions. So, we need the data, but we need human beings to take the decisions. So, that is the leave behind thought as far as promotion is concerned. In promotion, we spoke about messaging and media, which is what is the message that you want to tell your customers about your product or offering, and in what kind of media channels would you like to showcase this message. We then went on to understand the ad map, which is how do customers change their behavior, and I used the word insight when I spoke of this. We also spoke of the ABC of communication, which is attention, branding and communication. And as far as media goes today, it's about how many customers will you reach, with what effective frequency at the least possible cost. And there are a lot of tools available for you to test. There are a lot of tools available for you to create. I leave it to you to use judiciously a combination of data and human intuition or human insight to get the best bang for your buck as far as your brand is concerned.